This is lesson 9-1, video 2, and we are on page 590 now, looking at the area of triangles and trapezoids. All right, so you probably remember from the past that the area of a triangle is simply 1/2 the base times the height. Let's talk about why it's 1/2. Because a triangle can always be made into a rectangle, or in this case a parallelogram, by doubling it. So there is the same triangle repeated upside down, making a parallelogram. Remember, when we find base times height, we're finding a rectangle or a parallelogram's area. So in order to find the triangle, we can only use half of it because the triangle is always half of a rectangle or a parallelogram. So that should be an easy formula for you. The area of a triangle always equals 1/2 the base times the height. Okay, now let's move on to one that is pretty easy but not quite as simple as the triangle, and that is the trapezoid. A trapezoid is interesting because we have two bases that are different. The top is not the same length as the bottom. So we need to find the average base, or the base as if it were going across the middle, because that represents what the base would be if these two met in the middle and were the same length. In the case of a parallelogram or a rectangle. Because ultimately, like the triangle, we can take the parallelogram, here's a parallelogram, flip it upside down and attach it, and again, two of the trapezoids make a parallelogram. All right, so let's look at our height. Remember that our height cannot be slants. They have to be a height that is perpendicular to the base in all of these formulas. So our formula for a trapezoid can be written two ways. This is probably the best one mathematically. It's 1/2 of base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Or another way of saying it is the area of a trapezoid is equal to 1/2. Hold on just a second, let me think through that. I shouldn't have that 1/2 in there. Hold on just a minute. I'm erasing that and fixing it. Okay, now we can talk about it. Okay, I wrote down that 1/2 but didn't need it. The other way that we can say the area of a trapezoid is to say the average base, which is 1/2 of the two bases added together. So we simply say the average base times the height. All right, so let's look at it again. That's base 1 plus base 2 divided in half, or divided by 2. That's why we have half of the base 1 plus base 2. That gives us our average base times our height. And that's how we find the area of a trapezoid. All right, so let's use those two formulas to do some math. Example 2A says, find each measurement. In A, we're going to find the area of a trapezoid in which base 1 is 9 centimeters, base 2 is 12 centimeters, and the height is 3. So hopefully you can see this okay. I drew it in. And we have base 1 is 9, base 2 is 12, and the height is 3. Our height is great. We don't need to do anything with it. But remember, this is not the correct base. This is not the correct base. We have to find the average base. So that's 1/2 of 9 plus 12, or 9 plus 12 divided by 2. Well, 12 plus 9 is 21.5, no, sorry, just 21. Y'all, I'm tired today. I didn't sleep well last night, so that is why I am so prone to error in this lesson. Bear with me. So 12 plus 9 is 21 divided by 2. So let's do that in the notebook. We've got area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. So we've got area equals 1/2, and our bases were 9 and 12, and our height was 3. So then we've got 9 plus 12 is 21. We've got 1/2 of it times 3. And when we do the math on that, it equals 31.5. And this is area. This is base times height, or dimension times dimension. So, of course, it has to be squared. And that is how we get the area of a trapezoid. Okay, let's move on to example 2B at the top of page 591. This time we're given area, we're dealing with a triangle, and we're finding the base. So let's look at this triangle that they gave us. They told us that the area is x squared inches squared. So our area is x squared. Our height is x. We only know that from the diagram. And we need to solve for the base. So let's look at how we're going to do that. What is the formula of a triangle? Area of a triangle equals 1/2 base times height. So we have area, which was given in the problem, which is x squared. Remember, we plug in whatever we're given to the appropriate place in the formula. So area is x squared, and the height is x. That's the only dimension we know. We're not dealing with numbers here, we're dealing with variables. Okay, so let's start solving for base. So one thing I can do is divide both sides of the problem by x, and I will have just x on this side equals 1/2 b, but I still need to get b alone, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the 1/2, and my base will equal 2x. So this is my base. So base equals 2x, and that was all that I was asked in that problem. Let's move on to 2c. 2c wants us to find the second base, or the bottom base, of this trapezoid in which the area is 8 feet. So let's try it. You notice all that we're given, and you can look at that in your book as you also watch me do the work in my notebook. So we have area of a trapezoid equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Okay, so in this problem, we were told that the area is 8, and then we have our 1/2, and then we were given base 1, which is 3, but we're solving for base 2. I'm just going to call that b now that we only have one b in the problem. And we were told our height in the diagram, and that is 2. We were shown our height in the diagram, I should say. All right, so what is the best way to go about solving this problem? The first thing that we can see is that 1/2 of 2 is 1, or that a 2 on the bottom cancels a 2 on the top, because remember, every number is really a fraction over 1, so we can just get rid of that mathematically. And then we have 8 equals 3 plus b, which becomes a simple algebra problem, and b is going to equal 5. And that is the bottom base of this trapezoid. All right, so these problems are not too complicated. It just takes knowing the formula, plugging things into the proper places of the formula, and then being careful with the math. All right, I'm going to pause right here on check it out number 2. I'm not going to do number 2. I'm trying to decide if actually that might be helpful for me to do. Yes, never mind. We are going to do check it out number 2. It says find the area of the triangle. We are not given our base. I've written it in from doing it in the past, but we don't know the base theoretically. We do, however, have our hypotenuse and our leg. So what I did here to get this piece of the puzzle is I simply used the Pythagorean theorem. So in this chapter, and really for the remainder of the year, your problems are going to often require you pulling a lot of pieces of the puzzle together from things that you've learned in the past. So obviously this chapter is not about the Pythagorean theorem, but you need it and many other tools that we've used to work towards a solution. So here I knew that I had a hypotenuse, I knew I had a leg, but I needed another leg. So the best way to do that is the Pythagorean theorem, and I solved for b, which gave me 16. Now I'm equipped to find the area of the triangle. Area equals 1/2 the base times the height, which you can see that I did right here, or 1/2 times 16 times 12. Run the math on your calculator, and it's 96 meters squared. All right, I think that I'm going to pause this video there, and then we will work on how to find the area of a kite and a rhombus. So stay tuned for video 3.